Washington Commanders win their home opener against the New York Football Giants 21-18 and without scoring a touchdown. Hi, everybody. I'm Marvin Jackson, and welcome to the Sideline Report. I am joined by Lou Holder, Donna Hopkins, and our special guest tonight, Felix Trammell. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Welcome. Hey, Marvin, you didn't tell me it was going to be a Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity meeting up in here.
It's a meeting, and I guess, I don't know.
And we have a Kappa sweetheart, too.
We got a Kappa sweetheart. So.
Put up the yo, fellas, put up the yo.
And we're all, and look, and we're all in blue.
We didn't get the right color, but, that's a pretty good thing. Hey, Felix is a Washington Commanders beat reporter. So you're out there all the time. And Donna also is out there quite often. So let's get right to it. That was a big victory because after the Philadelphia loss and the Dallas loss, we are tied for first place in the NFC East. And I know Lou doesn't want to hear that, but
you better say it early, Marvin.
Donna, talk about how big this was for Washington.
Oh, it was huge. Looking at their schedule on down the line, this was a must win. It's sad when you say that 2 games into the season is already a must win, but this game was big for the Commanders, and you hate to see somebody go down with injury. The first play from scrimmage, but the Giants lose their kicker. And I'm telling you, that was good for the Commanders, because had he been in there, they could have went and pulled this game away. But let me talk a little bit about the red zone. I want to kind of like stay there because, you get down into the red zone 6 times and you come away just with field goals. Thank goodness that they finally got the field goal kicker right, because he ended up winning the game for the Commanders. But all preseason, all training camp, the red zone is an area that I pretty much talked about, that they had problems, in the red zones, getting touchdowns, getting the ball punched in. But you can't get it punched in if you're making mistakes down in that area. And Coach Quinn talked about the mistakes that they made down there that pretty much pushed them back. 5 false starts, can't have that. But overall, the Commanders did move the ball, and that's a positive sign, to get down there, at least something that we've been dying to see. But when you get down there, you got to score more than 3 points. Looking at the schedule ahead, you got to put 7 on the board. But overall, I saw improvement. Coach Quinn talked about that. Let's not make the same mistakes. And the energy was there, better energy this week against the Giants. But again, I'm not going to mention the defense too much because it's still some hiccups there, but they even played a little bit better, but still making some of the same mistakes.
Home games and division games are a precious commodity in the NFL. Last year, they did not win 1 division game, and they only won the 1 home game the beginning of the season. So to get a home win and to get one against a division rival, that's huge. We all know, we've all seen it. It's ugly in the NFC East in September, October, November, and December. So at the end of the day, it's going to go down as a win. It doesn't matter. Look, we've all been in the stadium where we've seen the Giants and the Commanders tie up at the Meadowlands a couple of years ago. So I just really think that these first two games is almost like the beginning of them playing in the preseason, because no one really played. They're all still trying to learn one another. So I just feel that there was a lot of things to actually be still excited about. Again, whether you get too high or too low, I really, and me and Donna have talked about it, you really can't get too excited about a win or a loss, because this is the first year of them trying to rebuild something. You're going to have a lot of people who are still trying to learn one another. It's going to get ugly at times. This quarterback is going to struggle. But I will say, through 2 games, Jayden Daniels has not turned the ball over. And the thing is about the quarterback, you are supposed to protect the football. And as a rookie, every other quarterback in the NFC East has multiple interceptions. And Jayden Daniels, your quarterback, for the Washington Commanders doesn't have any. So that's a good way to start off. But as Donna said, and as we all know, it's got to get better. And I'm going to be looking at the coordinators going forward as that happens.
Felix?
Yeah. I think Lou brought some important perspective into this because as we see across the league, it's hard to win. There's a lot of teams that we were looking at coming into the season as contenders that are 0-2. Our neighbors up north, Baltimore, our next opponent, the Bengals. There's a lot of teams that have not won a game. So winning a game is important, especially a division opponent. It's almost like a two wins for the value of one. So we can look at it, as Donna said, we got in the red zone 6 times and didn't get a touchdown, but Tress Way never punted. So there are other ways to look at that game. So the building blocks are going in that direction, but then you still see the mistakes. Like Lou was saying, they don't know each other. There's a false start. Jaden's cadence was a little bit different on Sunday than it was in the previous week in Tampa. Led to some of those things. They're trying to figure out a cornerback who can actually tackle somebody. So you're trying to learn those things on the fly in front of 70,000 people trying to win an NFL game. So we got to put it all in perspective. There's a lot of moving parts. This is really preseason game number 2 now because, like you said, Lou, no one plays anymore. So people are gassed. People are not in game shape yet. So that's important. But I think it's important saying that they did not win an NFC East game last year. That's just bad. You're never going to compete like that. But now you have won while the other teams are struggling themselves. There's quarterback and coaching questions in Philadelphia. There's coordinator questions in Dallas. Giants are in shambles. So there's always an opportunity in the NFL. You've got to seize the opportunity, and the Commanders were able to do that on Sunday. So looking at it positively, yes, they won, but do they have a lot to work on? Absolutely.
All right. Well, the man who made it happen, the kicker, Austin Siebert. It looks like we have a kicker. Right, Donna?
Hey, Marv, we definitely do. I like what Jayden Daniels said when they asked him about it. He said, I appreciate him. All of us appreciate him. But I like how he practices. Doesn't go to the football field, but he uses a tree as his target, and his family is involved in that. So you kind of like what he said and just his attitude. He seems like a fresh breath of air. And I'm just glad that they finally got somebody that can get it through the uprights.
All right, Lou.
Hey, I like what Frankie Louvu said. He goes, yo, he's dope. He's just dope. And I think that what I'm more excited about is this is a find by Adam Peters. Dan Quinn said he had nothing to do with it. This is a find by Adam Peters. And again, I think you're going to see this over and over again. You're going to see people as they try to maneuver and get this roster the way they want to. Adam Peters is going to start finding people. And that's the exciting part of this whole new GM, head coach, all that. That's what I'm really excited about. You never know when they're going to find a gem.
Felix?
And going off of what Lou said, also when we interviewed him, he was speaking about how he felt, how welcoming it was, how calm Dan Quinn was, how inviting Adam Peters were, and how the team was. So, I mean, you can already kind of see that the locker room's changed. The organization's changed because you see people, they're like, this was great. They were welcoming, and you see it perform out on the field. So Seibert was ready, and he performed, and he delivered. And so Adam Peters, that's another gem in his hat. Let's say it like that.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about defense. I know you guys can't wait to talk about that defense.
Hold Donna back.
So we'll be back in a moment. Don't go away, folks. Welcome back, everyone, to Sideline Report. Marvin Jackson here, along with Lou Holder, Donna Hopkins, and Felix Trammell. Not so good defensive play this past week. And let's start out with Felix Trammell. What do you have to say about the defensive play so far this season?
It was better than Tampa Bay. Let's start there. But the Giants were a lesser offense. But Bobby Witt's schemes are starting to take form. You can see some plays that are starting to be made, like Frankie Laval. He was a missile on Sunday. and he laid the wood to Malik Neighbors on one of his big catches. So you can start to see some of the plays being made. Now, there's some issues that are schematic, especially that 3-by-1 formation. Tampa Bay killed them with that, with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans last week. And then Malik Neighbors was able to get open almost consistently on third down on that 3-by-1 set. And you can still see where the players are confused on who's doing who's covering what. But there was a lot of times they got them to third and fourth down. So we're seeing progression that's that way. But Singletary was able to finish off a lot of runs because they didn't finish the tackle. But the defense is trending better. So I know you think of those things. There was a lot of times where they were able to get the Giants off the field and make plays, but they've got to work on that communication piece on the back end. And like Lou mentioned before, there's a lot of moving pieces. So you're trying to figure out who's going to be where to do what you need them to do. So the scheme, the skeleton is there, but the house is nowhere near built. They might have some couple of foundation builders there, but the house is nowhere near being built. But you need to celebrate progress, and progress was made on the defense yesterday. And let me give him his flowers, because I've been hard on him. Benjamin St-Juste had a good game.
Hey, could you say that again?
I was so hard on him training camp, but he played a good game. And Malik Neighbors is the type of receiver he does well against. Longer, taller receivers that aren't as shifty. And Benjamin St-Juste was able to produce a good game out of that. So, Donna, I gave him his flowers. You can't say that I didn't.
You did.
Yeah. So I will echo what Felix said, that you did see some flashes of hope there. Again, when this team went out and got Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu, it was for a reason, and it's already showing. It may not show as far as sexy points, but Bobby Wagner is leading this team in tackles with 19. Frankie Louvu has 16. So these are tackling machines, and they are doing what they're supposed to do. If Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen are getting double teamed, then the defensive ends, there needs to be some type of productivity from all defensive ends. And I think that Jamin Davis could have had some type of impact in the game if he was in there, but he was a scratch. He was inactive. But at the end of the day, those two up front, and I will give it over to Donna to expound a little more. You can't have a total of 5 tackles in 2 games between Payne and Allen. You got to beat double teams. You got to make some tackles. You got to get the productivity from those defensive tackles, because tackle is in their name. There are defensive tackles and they're not tackles.
Hey,
Donna?
Yeah, if you could see me right now, I have my arms folded, because we were fighting to see who was going to talk about this defense first, because it's so much to digest with the defense. Because when you Lou, I got to give it to you, because I was going to start off positive with Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner, because Coach Quinn talked about those 2 players, and he said that these 2 players, basically, you can see the dominant in them as far as the physicality in them, the energy and all of that with these 2 players. You could see why the Commanders want these 2 players here. But let's go to what really needs to happen with this defense. Yes, they played better. As St-Juste said, hey, they ended up tackling a little bit better. Their communication was a little bit better, but far from being okay, because you can't have those blunders in the secondary, because the Giants had 1 receiver. You're getting ready to face Cincinnati with Chase, Burton, and that list goes on and on. You're going to have to cover 3 or 4, and that cornerback position has not gotten right on one side, and so much so that the Commanders have brought in a cornerback this week, because, as Dan Quinn said, they're going to bring in players until they get it right. And that's what I like about this coaching staff. They're not just trying to weather through it to say, we're going to have to make these guys fit and whatever. It's almost like we got to go out and find some other players to bring in here to see what happened. And as far as Jamin Davis, Coach Quinn talked about that on Monday as the reason why he wasn't there or dressed is because they brought 5 guys up. And so the defensive line, Newton, you want him in there. the push is not there from the front of the defense, and that's hurting the secondary because you got to get help there. So even though they got a little pressure, you don't see the push up front from those guys right there. So this defense has to get better, because when you look down the line, I'm looking on down the line at games, it's tough teams that they have to face quarterback wise. Joe Burrow, do you think he's going to stand around almost like Baker Mayfield and then Daniel Jones? They can't be in the same conversation, but Daniel Jones still creates problems for the Commanders. And like I said, Joe Burrow, so you're going to have to face him. And he's mad because of Kansas City coming back and getting that game on them. So this defense really has to step up even more so. And as Dan Quinn said, and I'm going to leave it at this, they can't afford to make the same mistakes week in and week out. And the tackling, like I said, has to get better.
And, actually, Jones had a pretty good game, Daniel Jones. He was actually driving the Giants down on that last possession, and Neighbors, who had a great game, had a drop on the sideline. And it was probably in field goal position already at that point. So the defense got a little bit of a break when Neighbors dropped that ball on the sideline and at that last minutes of the game. We're going to come back and talk about those upcoming games that you mentioned, Donna, against Cincinnati, Cardinals, and Atlanta, and then also Baltimore after that. So we're going to come back and talk about especially the Cincinnati game coming up next week. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Sideline Report. Marvin Jackson, along with Donna Hopkins, Lou Holder, and Felix Trammell. Let's go back to that Cincinnati game that's coming up this week, and what you guys think Washington has to do to win that game. Let's start out with Lou Holder.
Terry McLaurin's got to get the ball. 8 receptions for 39 yards in the first 2 games. I mean, I don't know if he's not getting off the blocks or what have you. But remember what Jason Campbell said last week? You got to take a couple of shots down the field. And Terry McLaurin is Noah Brown is coming in there. But if your top receiver is Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz, that's not going to help that vertical passing game. So Terry McLaurin they got to find him the ball. I think that Jaden Daniels is running around a lot because the receivers aren't getting open, and he has to improvise a little bit. So I think when you go to that Cincinnati game, there has to be some type of long threat so other stuff can work. That's one thing that needs to happen in the Cincinnati game.
Felix?
Copy the game plan from Sunday. They possessed the ball. They had the ball for almost 40 minutes against the Giants. The best way to not let Joe Burrow in the offense beat you, keep Joe Burrow on the sideline. And that means Brian Robinson has to have a good game. Eckler has to have a good game as well. And you got to finish your chances. I think that's key. Punch the ball in the end zone, but Robinson has to have another 100-yard game. Eckler has to have somewhere in 80 yards between running and receiving, and that will help Jaden Daniels out a bit. And then you do those shots over the top, Terry McLaurin. But that's got to be the game plan. Possess the ball, have almost a 2-to-1 ratio so that the Bengals offense can't hurt you if they're standing on the sideline or sitting down on the bench.
Hey, Felix, I'm staying with the defense because I'm going to talk about the defense right now, because what they have to face with the Bengals is going to be tough. Already you said Joe Burrow, 258 yards last week. He's got Burt and Chase. As far as the receivers, he's got 2 running backs. Zach Moss had 34 yards, and then he's got Chase Brown, another running back. And then he's got himself, Joe Burrow, who's going to take off and create havoc. So that defense, they've got to be spot on. I mean, the pressure, the push, all of that has to take place. And the secondary, I mean, if they end up creating those same mistakes that they have in the first 2 games, which Phyllis talked about that, they're going to have a field day in trying to contain them. And like you said, the best medicine would be to keep the defense off the field so that Barrows does not have a chance to destroy the Commanders' defense. But they just got to be better. It's Monday night, a primetime game. You know what that means. Everybody's going to be watching. So everybody's going to be watching how the Commanders really respond in their first game on really major TV.
All right, get your popcorn. That's going to be an exciting night. Monday Night Football for Jaden Daniels, especially. All right, let's talk about the Ravens. Now, what is going on with the Ravens? Right up the street, we have a lot of viewers who are Ravens fans. What's going on, Donna?
Hey, you look at the defense for the Ravens right now, they're not making plays either. I mean, they can't stop anybody. Derrick Henry, you got to put the ball in his hand, although, he did have a touchdown, but it's just that the Ravens, to me, are trying to figure out who they are right now. I mean, they got the running back that they wanted, but I think when you look at the defensive side of the Ravens, that's where they are having the most trouble because they can't stop nobody right now. And they could end up starting off 0-3 because they got to face Dallas this week in Dallas, who lost also. So that's going to be an excellent game right now, but I don't know what's going on with the Ravens.
Lou?
I'm concerned about their offensive line. It was in the first game, I showed concern, and I did against the Raiders. I saw the same thing. I mean, they don't seem in sync with one another, and it all goes back to that last playoff game too. It's like it just doesn't seem like they're in sync offensively.
Felix?
I think it's a long time with the same kind of the coach, same kind of message. And I think you've just lost too many pieces off the defense. Like you saw Judon last night for the Falcons. I mean, he helped them secure that win. He was a star piece on the Ravens. So I think they've just lost piece here, piece here, piece here, piece here, and they're trying to do all the same things, and they can't on the defensive side. And offensively, they've got to keep Lamar Jackson upright. And everyone knows he's amazing. He's Superman, but no quarterback is going to survive constantly getting hit. And Matt Crosby against the Ravens was in Lamar Jackson's pocket the whole game. And that's just not sustainable to win. So, like Donna said, the Cowboys are going to be panicked. They're going to be in a frenzy after what happened to them. And Baltimore's 0-2. So now you're getting in desperation in a early game. So the Ravens are going to have to pick it up somewhere because they are a target. They have been a model franchise in this league for a long time, but they are a target. That's what people want to defend. So they've got a lot of work to do. And I think Harbaugh's got to flip that message, because if that message doesn't change and he gets tuned out, next thing you know, he's going to be out.
You think they're not listening to him, Felix?
I just think he's been there so long. Like it's been the same message. And after a certain time, the message just doesn't resonate unless you clean shop of players. And I think, who's been there as long as he's been? What, talking Bill Belichick with the Patriots? I don't think Andy Reid's been there quite as long with the Chiefs, but he finds ways of being innovative and fresh and helps out. I don't think Harbaugh is just getting what he can get out of those players anymore because they've just kind of zoned him out.
I think coordinators, or maybe he needs to change the coordinators, because you think about across the league and everything, when they need to shake up things, they're not going to get rid of so much the coach, but they possibly could get rid of the coordinators that are not, where the players are not playing right now. So I think it's more so what you said, Felix, is injuries right now that's hurting the Baltimore Ravens. And they better just learn how to put the ball in Derrick Henry. Why did you get him if you're not going to use him?
It's the coordinator, Donna. It's the offensive coordinator, for sure.
See?
I agree with you. That needs to be changed. They need to, do a lot of newer things now that they have Derrick. All right. And the Dallas Cowboys, they're not looking too good. One weekend they're good. The next weekend they're not. We don't know what's going on in Dallas.
So you mean the status quo like they always are?
That's, we always say that. Don't worry, Dallas will mess it up, right?
Yeah, I just think that they did not come to play, because no way you get blown out like that because you got a lot of the pieces, and you went in and faced the Saints, and you took them light, and therefore the Saints had their perfect game. If they had to have a perfect game, they did against Dallas, and they took Dallas out of the game early, and that's pretty much what the Commanders have to do against Cincinnati. Take them out of the game early.
This NFC East is up for grabs. I don't think that there's a clear-cut person whose team that just stands out, because through 2 games, I just think that this is the kind of a season that is just going to be wild throughout.
Thanks so much, everybody. That's all the time we have for this edition of Sideline Report. Thanks to Donna Hopkins, Lou Daddy Holder, and also Felix Trammell. So we will see you next time on the Sideline. Take care, everybody.